Hello, and welcome back to Plantopia. Plantopia is the plant health podcast of the American Phytopathological Society. I'm the host of Plantopia, Jim Bradeen. I'm a professor of plant pathology and associate vice president at Colorado State University. And we're recording this episode of Plantopia live at the 12th International Congress of Plant Pathology in Lyon, France. Today we are joined by Dr. Yong-Hwan Lee. Yong-Hwan was born in the Republic of Korea and earned his BS and MS degrees in plant pathology from Seoul National University. And he earned his PhD also in plant pathology from Louisiana State University. He worked for 2 years at Clemson University as a visiting assistant professor before returning to Korea as a senior research scientist at LG Chem Limited. And in 1995, he joined the faculty of Seoul National University, rising to the rank of distinguished professor in 2020. Yong-Hwan's research focuses on the molecular and genomic basis of rice blast disease caused by Bagnophortha oryzae, and he employs multiple research approaches and strategies to dissect infection mechanisms and enable comparative and evolutionary fungal genomics analyses. Yong-Hwan is author or co-author of a very impressive 231 peer-reviewed publications, and he's earned numerous awards. Among his honors, in 2016, Yong-Hwan was elected as a member of the Korean Academy of Science and Technology, and APS has recognized his many contributions with the Ruth Allen Award in 2013 and the APS Fellow Award in 2017. Yong-Hwan also held the honor of KP Chair Professor at Zhejiang University in China and a Finland Distinguished Professorship at the University of Helsinki. Yong-Hwan is committed to service to his institution and our profession. At Seoul National University, he's held several administrative roles, including director of the University Plant Clinic, department head, and associate dean for research. He has served on the editorial boards of many prominent journals and is currently an academic editor for Scientific Reports, senior editor for Phytopathology Research, and senior editor of the APS's Phytobiomes Journal. Yong-Hwan has served as the president of the Korean Society of Plant Pathology and is currently the president of the Asian Association of Societies for Plant Pathology. Yong-Hwan also serves on the council and at the end of this meeting will be president of the International Society for Plant Pathology, the ISPP. And I should mention the ISPP, along with the French Society of Plant Pathology, organized the ICPP meeting that we're speaking at today. Yong-Hwan, welcome to Plantopia.
Thank you for inviting me here.
Our pleasure. It's an honor to meet you and have you on the show. You have had such a significant impact on our field, and you work on a very significant disease and a very significant crop. I'm talking, of course, about blast of rice. So let's actually start at the beginning. Could you tell us a little bit about how you became interested in the field of plant pathology?
Before I say really how I got interested in plant pathology, I like to a little bit explain what was economic situation when I was in college student. In the 1970s, South Korea faced a challenging economic situation with limited resource and difficulties achieving self-sufficient in food production. Even per capita GNP was only around $2,000, but now it's over $35,000. During this period of time, South Korea received significant support from advanced foreign countries. However, fortunately, during this time, we had Green Revolution, at least in rice breeding, leading to the development of 통일 varieties. This made self-sufficiency of rice as major food. This was achieved by crossing the Indica and Japonica varieties, and these 통일 varieties had higher resistance to rice blast. Although the taste and quality of this 통일 variety was not as good as Japonica variety we used to consume, but government pushed all the rice-growing farmers to cultivate this variety only to increase harvest yield. At the plant pathology point of view, as a result of large-scale cultivation, a genetically identical single varieties over extensive area, the race of blast pathogen shift in 1978. A major outbreak of rice blast occurred in Dongil rice. It's causing around 50% of loss of the harvest. During this time, exactly 1 year next of rice blast outbreak, I entered College of Agriculture at Salesian University. And then I had to decide my major at the second year. I had interest in the beginning in microbiology, but due to this rice blast outbreak in Korea, I decided to major plant pathology. As an undergraduate student, I had an internship in the laboratory of rice blast, and I decided to go to graduate school. And then I really studied rice blast research until now.
That's an incredibly moving story. We all have our own pathway into the field of plant pathology. Few of us have that deep personal connection. And as you mentioned, you've worked on rice blast for a very long time.
I started from 1983, basically, and then till now, it's almost 40 years.
That's an incredible history. And as I mentioned, you've had just tremendous impact in the field. When you look back at all of the work that you've done, what are some of the projects that stand out as things that you're most proud of?
During the last 40 years, I think it's the discipline really changed quite a lot. Not necessarily only in plant pathology, but also around other science as well. And then I started actually from the beginning something related with this molecular aspect. They will really like to understand what is the molecular mechanisms of pathogenesis of the rice blast. And then from early days, I just work on chloroplast formation and chloroplast fusions, and then genetics and genomics and bioinformatics. And then during last 20 years, and then we combined genomics and bioinformatics to really understand that this is what is really nature of the mechanism to make a disease or to make resistant in varieties. That was really dream journeys what I have been so far.
Incredible. So you're referencing 40 years of work. Where do you think our field will be in another 40 years? What are some of the opportunities and challenges that you're looking forward to?
Because why I only stick on the rice blast, that was probably due to when I started my work at the master program in the beginning. But I had a really good opportunity always be supported by the government or industries and with a really exceptionally talented graduate student. But I never think even other area of fungal pathogen or area of the plant pathology.
Despite your amazing research career, you've also found time to serve in some really important leadership roles. I'd like to explore a little bit your role as department head and an associate dean at your university. What motivated you to pursue academic leadership?
Yeah, I better explain the system what our university has. Probably a little bit different from the U.S. University systems, especially for department head. And then more specifically, say probably we have department chair system rather than head of department by rotating of each faculty members for a few years. With few exceptions, I think it's almost 50% of the faculty member in the department will do one service during their careers. But I also served as associate dean for research at the college level. That is a little bit different. And that is not 100% of a full-time administration job, but still we need to really significant amount of time I need to invest it to manage those kind of things. But that is not election. Our college dean is election systems, but until associate dean is appointed by the president of the universities. So president, appointed, you should be an associate dean for research at the College of Agriculture and Life Science. Then had to decline. So I had to serve 2 years.
I think that's a story that's familiar to many of us that are in leadership roles. I'm curious what challenges or impacts you had in those leadership roles.
When I was in associate dean for the research, I also had the position as a director of BK21 Agricultural Biotechnology Graduate Program that is hugely supported by the government of the Korea. And then by that time, we just combined the 5 different disciplines together, including plant pathology, entomology, and biochemistry, and food science, even in animal science, to make agricultural biotechnology program. And then we had about 350 graduate students in one single program. And then by that time, I also made a joint PhD program with the North Carolina State University. It's specifically an interdisciplinary program on one of my former PhD students has, that's why dual degrees, one PhD from NC State and one PhD from Seoul National University.
And wonderful. Curious also if those leadership roles changed your view of our science or your approach to science.
That's every faculty members are facing these days, how much portion they should put in their administration or service, and then how much they should their own science. But at least somebody should sacrifice, right? And if no one like to be, then how this body or community will be run? If you raise a hand, and then that is your turn.
I'm sure your colleagues thank you for your service and sacrifice. I'm looking at your publication record and the impact you've had in our field, and I'm very impressed with what you've been able to do while you were in those service roles as well. Now you've traveled the globe, and I'm really very interested in your association with universities in China and in Finland. Tell us a little bit about what those relationships were.
That was really excellent and memorable journey I had to additional affiliation in China and in Finland. When I was in Zhejiang University as KP Chair Professorship for 3 years, by that time, the level of Chinese science, as good as these days, is pretty much a starting point. But these days, what I can see, I think many of agrees, and more than 60% of a high quality publication came from China. They invited me to incorporate some of this genomics and bioinformatics work in their own institute. But I did not stay as a full-time, but I traveled back and forth very frequently. But when I turned to 50s, and that was another challenge, it go to University of Helsinki. Academy of Finland made one really excellent program. It's called the Finland Distinguished Professorship. And then University of Helsinki as a host invited me to be there for 5 years. And they don't have really plant pathology department, but they rather have department of forest pathology. If you look here, even including APS or ISPP, we have much less number of forest pathology. Somehow they go to UPRO, it's a Forest Union Society, and then has their small section of forest pathology rather than really plant pathology platform. So they also like to introduce this genomics and bioinformatics platform in forest pathology. So I stayed there 5 years. So during summertime and the winter time, I stayed in the Helsinki with another set of graduate students and postdoc, and then have the laboratories. And the spring and fall are in Seoul and Seoul National University. After 5 years, I completely exhausted. And then I terminated one side, and now I'm focusing only Seoul National University. But the experience in really less developed Zhejiang University in China, and then quite really developed, but less developed area of forest pathology compared to plant pathology was really extremely enjoyable period of time. I enjoyed it very much, but I can't do anymore.
So I've said many times, and I've actually heard many times in this ICPP meeting that plant pathogens know no boundaries, that plant pathology really is a global field of study. Do you have any advice to students or early career professionals on the importance of international collaborations and international travel?
I think later I'm going to introduce what is the role of ISPP, International Society of Plant Pathology, why we need these societies. I think, during last, 30, 40 years, if you look back, it's most of plant pathology research discipline is becoming deeper and deeper, and then it's pretty much independent of each other. And then it's not easy to understand what is the holistic view of the plant disease and how to even collaborate with the colleague, even same department, even same college. But as I just mentioned, the plant disease is not confined in local anymore. This is really global. We like to see the global views. And then we need to work together with the people from other parts of the world. Of course, we have to make our collaboration together at the national level, but now it's time really go further to understand what is the nature of plant disease scaring us, global levels. And then more recently, we have one really nice examples. Rice blast, fungal pathogen now is causing wheat blast. That is a heavily outbreaked Bangladesh, where it came from. Okay, and we believe now, and then has some evidence, it came from South America, from Brazil. Although we have this quarantine service, we cannot block 100%. We need to know what's happening in neighboring countries and even other parts of the world. Otherwise, we cannot protect our own territory even. I think it's becoming more and more important than before. We have to work together global level. And then even during last few days in Lyon, and then now we are feeling what is really climate change, all right? And this environment will really threatening is more epidemics, even new disease, more yield loss, even re-emerging disease. To integrate all together, always think about the global and comprehensive and better platform to work together. And then also I like to really emphasize most of this community being operated or managed by pretty much advanced countries only. But if you look some other part of the world, in Asian countries, in African countries, where really plant pathology is needed. So we have to bring them to our platform and then work together to solve this threatening crisis or challenging by working together with the less developed countries and the bit advanced countries together. So we should be together.
That's really well said. You mentioned ISPP. I certainly want to explore the role of this meeting, the ICPP. Before we get there, though, you are also right now the president of the Asian Association of Societies for Plant Pathology. Help me understand what that association is.
It has been now almost 20 years. By 2000, I think a few colleagues from Korea and then Japan and China get together. And then by that time, it's traveling to always the Western country. It's not that cheap. And most of our colleagues didn't have much money to travel to communicate with other part of the world. And then we decide whether we can make even our own continental societies. By that time already, there are Australasian society coming together with New Zealand and Australia, something like that. So first meeting we had 2000 in China, and then every 3 years we rotated. And then during my presidency of Korean Society of Plant Pathology, we also hosted the Asian Conference of Plant Pathology. And then I became president of this Asian Society of Plant Pathology 2017. And then my term supposed to be ended by 2020. But we had a pandemic of COVID-19 and then proposed this Asian Conference of Plant Pathology, postponed and then canceled. So still I'm in the office. And then I hope it's concluded next year when we have finally Asian Conference on Plant Pathology in China. And then I'll be more focused on ISPP.
Yeah, you've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
really at the conclusion of the International Congress of Plant Pathology, the ICPP meeting we're at today, you will assume the role of president of the International Society of Plant Pathology. Tell us a bit about the society and some of your priorities for the society.
Yeah, let me explain a little bit information on International Society of Plant Pathology. This society was founded in 1968. Now we have 63 national or regional plant pathology or plant protection society as a member. If we think about the individual members, we had about 26,000 plant pathologists as a member. But as you may guess, and the purpose of this ICPP is to promote the worldwide development of plant pathologies and the dissemination of knowledge on plant disease and plant health management. But what we do actually as a society is we sponsor the International Congress of Plant Pathology at regular intervals, currently every 5 years. Okay, now it's 12 here in Lyon, but will be changed every 4 years, commencing 2032. And then also other international meetings on plant pathology and related subjects. But more importantly, ISPP established what we call subject matter committees to investigate and report on special field or problem in plant pathology. And ISPP also published ISPP journal is food security. Food security journal has really broad spectrum, even including economics, sociology, even household. During the last 10 years, the journal Food Security has been really successful. It's now we have an impact factor of 7.1. And also ISPP also published monthly newsletter and sending out more than 2,500 individual members and society members. And then also books with Spring Nature in the field of plant pathology. Many things, right? And then ISPP also maintain websites. And more importantly, with support of the funds, we established worldwide directory of plant pathology.
A very impactful society, and we really look forward to seeing where you take it in the next 5 years that you'll be president. By the way, congratulations on the presidency, and thank you for that service.
Thank you very much. But I'd like to add just one point, how this International Society of Plant Pathology is operating and running. And the ISPP Executive Committee is the highest administration body, consisting of presidents. We have 2 presidents. One for subject matter committee. The other one is next Congress chair. And then we also have Secretary General and the Treasurer and immediate past president. But I have been learning quite a lot during the last few months, and they really committed for the community. I'm not quite sure how much I can do it. I'm very much scared even. My responsibility is becoming bigger and bigger from last even a few days. I really thank very much. And then we also have another secretary committees, including the editor-in-chief of the Food Security Journals and web manager and one business manager.
There are a lot of people who believe in you, and it sounds like you have really great support from the various committees.
Yeah.
So as president, the next Congress will fall to you.
Yes.
And tell us a bit about when and where that Congress is.
Next Congress is going to be 5 years interval is 2028, and Gulf Coast, Queensland, in Australia. So Andrew is now chairing the next ICPP 2028. So we'll have all this nice introduction, the ceremony in day of tomorrow. Please join. Okay, just mark in your calendar. Okay, and the 2028. August
2028 on the Gold Coast of Australia. Let's all be there. I can say as somebody who attended this year's ICPP meeting, it's an incredibly impactful experience. There are more than 2,400 attendees at this year's Congress coming from 100 different countries. So it's truly...
Let me correct one thing. 101 countries.
101.
101.
You heard it here on Plantopia. So it really, truly is a global.
Yeah, it's global.
event.
Yeah. And then we have, I think, 63 concurrent sessions and 350 invited speakers. It's pretty impressive.
Impressive is correct. We definitely look forward to seeing you in 2028. And is there anything else that you would like to say to the listeners of Plantopia?
When I got requested to be a guest in the Plantopia, I went back to the website and then I just learned and listened a few things. And then I was just got shocked. And then how I can be there and then what I can say. And then all these nice speakers, it looks like all the professional. So I'm listening to really broadcasting, not is operating by APS as plant pathologist. Then I got stressed very much. I had to eat. I don't know how the people thinking about when they listen our conversation.
I hope our conversation here has made you a little less stressed about being on Plantopia.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, Plantopia really thrives because people like you are willing to share your stories. And it's a big and diverse field of study. And there are folks all over the world doing amazing things. So thank you so much for taking the time to share your story.
Thank you very much.
We have just heard from Dr. Yong-Hwan Lee, Distinguished Professor at Seoul National University and incoming President of the International Society of Plant Pathology. I'm Jim Bradeen, the host of Plantopia. Thank you so much for listening.